Hello Ride On people. So I'm down in the man cave today. So we've got the big HD 3D flat screen on the wall there and the big leather sofa to crash out on. And there's my games room with my 8-foot pool table. Got my tin plate signs adorning the pool room wall. Got my Vincent, got my Ducati, got my Harley Davidson, got my Norton, got my Indian, and of course got my Triumph. Now Triumph launched the Tiger 800 back in the 2010 year. And by 2011, Cycle World had said it was their best dual sports bike. So for 2015, I think it was, there was another kind of major refresh of the bike, and it received ride-by-wire and fuel economy improved by about 17%. The Triumph 1200 Explorer was first shown at the ICMA 2011 show and has remained pretty much the same ever since. For 2018, both bikes received a major update, and the 1200 dropped the Explorer name for just a simple branding of Tiger. Now, personally I've owned several Triumphs and there's something wonderfully characterful about that lovely triple engine, and none have ever let me down. I really do love Triumphs. Aside sprints and speed triples, I've personally owned a Tiger 1050 and a Tiger Explorer 1200. The 1050 had the generic wonderful 1050 road engine, which is one of the best road engines of all time. I think it really worked very well at real world speeds. The 1200 was faster and it was very practical, but it also carried its weight fairly high up, so there was room for improvement there. Triumph invited me along to the kick-off of their national tour for the Atlanta to Alaska tour of the all-new Triumph Tiger 800 and 1200s. They were kind enough to hand over a rucksack full of goodies and a baseball cap and further information about the new Tigers. And I also dragged along a riding buddy and fellow GSA rider, Jerry, along with me for a second perspective on the bikes. So let's have a look at some of the photographs I took and some of the video I took of the bikes just initially, and then we'll go through some of the pros and cons as I see it of the bikes. And we'll also go through some of the real details of the differences between the XRs and the XCs, and I'll finish up with my conclusions and thoughts on the new Tigers for you.
to me. Alright, that's right, that's right, that's right, that's right. I really love your tiger light. And that's neat, that's neat, that's neat, that's neat. I really love your tiger feet. I really love your tiger feet.
Okay, so you may need to pay slight attention because on face value the ranges are pretty confusing, but once understood they're fairly straightforward. So let's start with the commonalities between the 800s and the 1200s in terms of model range. If I don't specifically mention the engine capacity, then what I'm saying applies to both the 800s and the 1200s. Now both ranges feature road orientated models which are designated XR, and off-road orientated models designated XC. Think of it as R for road and C for country. In the XR ranges there are three variant models: the base XR, then the XRT, and then the XRX. Additionally, there is a fourth model based on the XRX which has a low seat and low suspension. That is called the XRX Low. In the XC ranges there are two variant models, the XCX and the XCA. So effectively, four road orientated models and two off-road orientated models, a 6 model lineup in both the 800 and 1200 ranges, 12 bikes overall. Visually, the easiest way to distinguish the XR from the XC is that the XR wears cast alloy wheels and the XC wears wire spoke wheels with that taller and thinner front wheel to help it when soft-roading. The 800s range from $12,000 to $13,650 for the XRs and $14,450 to $15,850 for the XCs. The 1200s range from $16,500 to $18,750 for the XRs and $19,550 to $21,750 for the XCs. Pricing is not inexpensive, however it's on a par and slightly lower perhaps than its direct competition, and the build quality and standout feature count are both high. So let's look at the actual key differences between the models themselves, starting with the 800s. The base XR has the new Gen 800 motor with switchable ABS and traction control. The XRX and XRX Low additionally gained a TFT screen, daytime running lights, Brembo brakes, rider modes, cruise control and heated grips. And the XRT also benefits from additional shower suspension, full LED lighting, additional TFT screen styles, heated seat and centre stand. The XCX has the TFT and DRL, 5 rider modes including off-road mode, cruise, ABS and traction control, sump guard, engine protection bars, hand guards and a larger front wheel. Additionally, the XCA gets an off-road pro map, full LED lighting, 6 TFT screen styles, heated grips and seat, radiator guards and a centre stand. Still with me? Okay, let's move on to the 1200s. The base XR has 3 riding modes, switchable ABS and traction control, Brembo monoblocks, cruise control and a centre stand. The XRX and the XRX Low additionally gain the TFT, the DRL and heated grips, cruise control and semi-active suspension. The XRT model also gets the quick shifter, cornering lights, arrow silencer, hill hold, heated grips and seats. The XCX has the off-road map, 3-style TFT screen, keyless ignition, semi-active premium WP suspension, cornering ABS and traction control, plus an electric screen. The XCA additionally benefits from cornering lights, arrow can, 6 rider modes including off-road pro, hill hold, heated grips and seat, electric screen, spotlights and enduro pegs. Let's run through a few face value key pros and cons of the 800 and 1200 Tigers, starting with the 800s. The new Tiger 800 is extremely well built. I couldn't fault its fit and finish, particularly the XCA model, which had really lovely paint, which was very deep, both on the bodywork, tank and the wheels. It's also pretty class leading features and conveniences in this particular model. It's obviously got the characterful engine, and the 800s are particularly agile, particularly compared with the bigger venture bikes, the 1200s. In terms of cons, the dealer network is probably smaller than BMW and possibly Ducati, but if you've got a local dealer, that's not too much of a problem. BMW are refreshing the F800 GS competition for 2018, so that's another bike to check out. And some people view the 800s as less worthy in terms of being adventure bikes. Personally, I think they're wrong, but each to their own. You've got to kind of work that out for yourself. And now the 1200s, again, the build quality, fit and finish is really the equal of anyone. I couldn't really fault that on either the 800s or the 1200s. And it's pretty cutting edge in terms of, it's got all the ABS and traction control, as you'd expect, but it's ride-by-wire with lots of rider modes, and it's got the latest TFT screens with lots of styles, so that's pretty cool. And of course it's shaft drive, and that is always going to trump Ducati and BMW, and be the kind of equal to BMW in that respect, and that's an important feature for many long distance and high mileage travellers. In terms of cons, it's still quite a heavy bike with a high COG. It may have lost a couple of pounds, but it's not really lost that much, and I don't believe they've repositioned the weight particularly more effectively, but proof is in the pudding, and a ride would tell that. You also have to go into a menu option to adjust the electric screen. I find that particularly annoying over bikes that just have a button that you can raise and lower the screen. It's nice to have them high on the freeway and then suddenly raise it lower in the twisties, or if you're caught in town traffic and stuff at lights. The BMW has a hand adjuster, but it can't really be adjusted at speed. It can really only be adjusted when you're stationary, so they're kind of equal there, but it would be nice if there was a dedicated button. I think the 1200 faces some tough competition from KTM, which is always kind of better off-road, Multistrada, which will always appeal to the sportier rider, and the GS Adventure is obviously it's the leader in this market and often perceived as the ultimate tall rounder, so it certainly has its competition cut out. In conclusion, despite building a very competitive and attractive large adventure bike, I think Triumph have a tough job in persuading the typical KTM, Multistrada or GS adventure rider that the grass is greener to sell their 1200s and buy the Triumph 1200. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe as I live close to Atlanta where Triumph's North American HQ is situated, maybe they'll lend me a bike for 1 or 2 weeks to study it in more granular detail and provide you with more comprehensive feedback. But for now, on face value, I think that one is a kind of tough fist fight sales wise. The 800 is the same genre, but I think positions itself a little better versus its competition in the upper middleweight sector. Many will find it as agile and fun as the Multistrada 900, while perhaps benefiting from even more practicality and greater perceived reliability. BMW is about to release its own refreshed F800 GS to the public with some great TFT clocks and useful updates. But I think the Tiger 800 is arguably more stylish and fun, so I think it will hold its own pretty well. KTM are rumoured to be releasing their own mainstream 800 adventure bike, but I think it'll be based on the Duke 790, so it may be down on power, although you can always rely on KTM to build a light bike that works exceptionally well off-road. So it depends on your patience levels and how focused either on or off-road you really want your riding to be. So what would I buy if I was replacing my GS Adventure with another adventure bike? Well, the GS Adventure is very difficult to beat when riding 250 to 400 mile days or touring for several days, that's for sure. But for riders who want a bike to commute on, perhaps on busy roads with, to ride just purely for fun at the weekends or to go away for long weekends on, and generally ride maybe less than 250 miles in a day, I think an 800 is definitely the way to go actually. They're more affordable, cheaper to maintain, they're more manageable, lighter, more fun, and they're more than capable of hustling along at illegal speeds, so just how much power do you actually need? My personal favourite of the current 800s is the Tiger 800 XCA. This one showed off a deep paint colour called Corrosive Red. It was beautifully rich and glossy, very similar to the current Mazda MX-5 RF in hue. The paint on the wheels was also finished a very high, almost Teflon slippery, deep finish, and the whole bike exuded quality beyond this segment and price point in my honest opinion. A 6'2" tall, the long front WP suspension and taller front wheel would give my knee bend an easier time, and the componentry from the Brembo brakes to the intricate heated grips built into the grip itself just shows a level of detail and overall quality not seen in this segment up until now. Hats off to Triumph, because both of these bikes weren't broke, but Triumph fixed them anyway. They've gained shiny new coats with Harry Potter's magic wand tricks up their sleeves. Triumph have released something like 21 new model variants in the last 12 months or so. They're on a roll, and with bikes like the Bobber Black, the Speedmaster, and now the new Tigers, they're sub-zero cool right now. If you're in the market for this sort of bike, I'd urge you to check them out. You might be very glad that you did. Last but not least, ride often, ride carefully, ride on.